Start the film. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Good to have everyone here tonight. As we start every board meeting, just a review of our mission and vision statement. Our vision, inspiring all learners to be engaged and successful. A mission to provide an enriching environment to meet the needs of all learners. And then our core values of respect, integrity, students first, and excellence. And please remember that as we go through our agenda tonight and all that. Also like to thank Shay Tilgis and Kylie Scow for being our videography or whatever. Even after graduating, they still show up. So that's good to have. Thank you again. All right. We'll need then to approve the agenda. I don't think there's been any changes, so do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thanks, Tom. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Andrea. We have a motion to second approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Seeing no hearing of delegates, at this time, no communications to the board. So we'll go into the consent items you should have received in your packet before the weekend. And Gloria, you were finishing up going through the invoices. They all looked okay, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that was fine.
All right, thank you for taking the time to do that for us. Any questions or discussions on that? Joe, do you have any few comments or anything?
I'm going to talk a little bit about revenues and expenditures in my report, but they look good. We continue to operate in a surplus, which we are anticipating for this year. Some of those that surplus will start to come closer together as we close out the month in June, and we know that. But we're also still claiming reimbursement for some ESSER dollars. So, we certainly will have a surplus this year.
Okay. Any other questions or discussions? All right, hearing none, then we need a motion for approval of the consent items.
Make a motion to approve the consent items.
Thanks, Gloria. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Joe, we'll go into your superintendent's report.
Yeah, I'm going to start with just some update of where we're at with reorganization and our joint employment. This school year will receive year 2 of our joint employment dollars, but we also have to apply for year 3. And that is a very important process because if you do reorganize, the funding you get the previous year, you get for 3 additional years. So if the vote would not pass, we would not want to take year 3, because then if we would have a vote later on, we wouldn't get those for additional years. So the way the Department of Ed does this, they do ask you to apply now, which the application is due by July 1st. And if the vote would not pass in September, they would allow us to rescind that application for our year 3 of joint employment funding. The document that is attached, really what that is documentation of everything we've done in reorganization, including our affidavits, our petitions, and then the board meeting that the AEA had here in Algona, accepting our proposals from both the Laverne and Algona school districts. So these are the minutes and the affidavits from that meeting. So what they want to see is continued progress towards your reorganization, probably not a step bigger than the AEA accepting our proposal and establishing the date for the vote for reorganization. We know that those dollars are important to us. We want to continue to maximize those. That's why that year 3 of funding is so important, that you have that in the right place, because we wouldn't want to take that and then not reorganize and then lose the chance for year 4, 5, and 6, which are important to us as well. Also, a little bit of ISASP data. Mrs. Eischen really dug into our ISASP that we took this spring, and we have some great data, and she's gonna go into that more in depth in our board retreat. But I wanted to share some highlights We say that there's 21 data points. That would be ELA, math, and science in grades 3 through 11. 16 of those 21 data points improved from last year. So that's not cohorts group. That's third grade last year to third grade this year went up. But that's still a really good number. 8 of those 21 data points are at 81% or higher. I included some of those highlights here. Third grade ELA, 88%. Third grade math, 86%. This is proficient. Fourth grade ELA, 91. Fifth grade ELA, 84. Sixth grade ELA, 81. Eighth grade ELA, 92. Eighth grade math, 87. Eighth grade science, 83. And as we've discussed before, proficiency, that's not our end goal, right? You know, we want to look at our number of advanced kids and that's growing as well. And that's some of the type of stuff that she's going to give you a closer look at is cohort group from last year to this year. What's our advanced look like? So we're continuing to grow not only our number of kids who are proficient, but grow our number of kids who are advanced in these areas. But this is really good data. It's awesome data to see. You know, last year when we looked at this information, we were coming off a closure year. Things got really weird for us. This is good stuff to see this growing, and we hope to continue to see this grow in the future. So it's really exciting stuff. Small financial review, like I mentioned earlier. Our revenues and expenditures still continue to look really good. Revenues through May, $17,813,000. Expenses, $15,912,000. Now that gap will close as we close out the year. We know that it always does, but we also know we have more ESSER reimbursement coming. So it's, as we anticipated, a very good surplus year. And the reason for that is ESSER dollars and joint employment funding. You know, those create additional cash for us that will allow us to look at some of the things we do budget-wise differently in the coming years. Last piece is just the board retreat. We sent out a few options in July. Those aren't working well for us, so I wanted to throw out the idea of the first or second week of August. The fair week would be which week, Gloria? First week. So we would probably want to look at the week of August 8th, which that's before we have teachers back. You know, we're pretty deep into stuff administratively, but I think we could take some time to do that. We do like to have it early because it impacts our planning through the summer. The stuff that we have on the agenda for the board retreat this year, you know, it's okay to do it in August. You know, we still could use that to help us plan. So we'll be sending out some dates of that second week of August 8th.
The 8th would be a board meeting.
Okay.
That would be.
Yeah, you're right.
That would be a board meeting night. And then but outside of that.
We'll look at some options
Yeah.
to get that done.
So, yeah, that'd be a good week if we could.
Okay. Questions on our year 3 of joint employment, where we're at with reorganization, any of that ISASP data, or the financial pieces?
I'm trying to get the numbers. It says 20, that should be set, but is it grades 3 through 8 and 11?
No, 3 through 11?
So if there's 3 tests in each.
There isn't.
Okay.
There's only 3 in 8 and 11,
Okay.
right?
Okay, that's.
So science,
The numbers won't come out, right, so that makes sense.
yeah, that's a really good question. Science is only in the 5, 8, and 11, 3 different grade levels.
5 and 10.
Good question.
Good numbers.
It looks good. We're excited about that.
Yeah. All right, any questions for Joe or any comments on the report? Okay. We'll move on then to new business. We start off with audit proposals.
This is something we got to fairly quickly last week, but we are having trouble getting our audit returned in a timely manner. We're in at least year 2, maybe year 3 of not having it returned by the date that it's supposed to be returned. Extensions are filed appropriately like they're supposed to be, but we need that back in a more timely fashion. We talked to our current company. They were okay with us sending out for FY '22 through '25. We were scheduled to just start in '23, and we did that, and we did hear back from Schnurr and Company out of Fort Dodge, and that's the one proposal that we have returned. Schnurr and Company, without the single audits, $35,200. Currently, we're at $34,825 with Noltman Kornman. So the cost is similar, but I think we will operate in a more timely fashion to make that change. So my recommendation would be to accept Schnurr and Company's proposal for FY '22 through '25 and to cancel Nolte and Kornman's FY '22 audit.
When's the audit? When do you guys expect it back without any extensions?
March 30th is the deadline.
March 30th?
And we don't have it.
And the new, what you,
Schnurr and Company.
Schnurr.
Yeah.
they're committed to.
Yep. Mrs. Chapman has worked with Schnurr and Company previously. Did you ever have any delays in theirs?
We always like it back in January, but it's sometimes March.
Yeah. And we're in June for the third year in a row and don't have it.
I make a motion to accept the new audit proposal.
And
I'll second that.
and cancel
And cancel our
FY
current-
'22.
Yeah, FY
I'll second the cancellations.
You bet. We have a motion by Andrea, a second by Jay, and motion to go with Schnurr and Company and to cancel Nolte. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looks like another opportunity for a wonderful out-of-state trip.
And a celebration as well.
Yeah.
The FFA chapter won the Iowa Envirothon competition and is qualified for the International Envirothon competition. I think Reed is part of that, is that right? Wonderful accomplishment, really excited for that group and Mrs. Becker. The competition is held July 24th through 30th in Oxford, Ohio. So today we're just, I'm recommending the approval of the out-of-state trip for the International Envirothon competition and want to congratulate this group on wonderful accomplishment.
How many are in that group?
5 kids.
Five.
Okay, wonderful.
Great accomplishment for our school. I'll make the motion to approve it.
Thanks, Jay. Do you have a second?
I would second the motion.
All right, we'll take Todd. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, sixth, the leadership agreement with Becky Hacker-Kluber.
Becky Hacker-Kluber has been working in the district for, I think probably 4 years is accurate, possibly 5. What she's done in the past is she's provided leadership coaching for our administration and instructional coaches. She's also expanded beyond that in previous years into some curricular type stuff as needed from the district. We no longer have those needs. We fill those with Mrs. Eischen and our administration. In the past, she was contracted for 5 days a week. This proposal is to cut that in half and to cut the expense in half to 2.5 days per month. Because we do not need her in those curricular areas for the agreement of $14,074. You guys have the paper agreement to see how those expenses are broke down. And also, this is paid out of our TLC funds. It's not a general fund expense.
We feel it's in best interest to retain her at 2 days a week.
I do. Cutting it back to 2.5 days, I think she does really good work with our principals specifically and instructional coaches in working towards their professional development goals. I do think as we continue to evolve with our staffing and with our people, it's something that we may not need after this year, but I do think it's something that is beneficial for our people for this upcoming school year.
And then there's a little blurb, AEA North Central Coaching Consortium.
Yep.
The I, is that Becky Hacker-Kluber? It says, I will continue to lead, co-lead the support, or is that you?
That is Becky Hacker-Kluber, yes, yes.
Any other further questions or discussion? Okay, we needed then a motion to approve the leadership coaching agreement.
Make a motion to approve the leadership coaching agreement for fiscal year '23.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Andrea. We have a motion and a second. Then any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving right along tonight. Well, now we're looking at approve the Vista Software agreement.
Vista Software, formerly known as Grant Wood, they changed names a little over a year ago, I think. Actually, we got one before that.
Oh, sorry, did I skip over one? North Central, you're right. Thank you, everyone. North Central Consortium.
North Central Consortium School Agreement.
Yes.
Again, that's an agreement that we've had in the district. The North Central Consortium School, or NCCS, is a school that serves students in grades 3 through 12 with significant behavior needs. The school is administered financially by Manson Northwest Webster. The students who go there have both IEP and general education students and needs. Like I said, Manson is the flow-through agent. We pay $5,000 up front for facilities rental, and we pay that out of our PEPL fund. So that's money that's up front and pays for the facility. We then pay $55,000 for the educational cost, and that number is simply based on the enrollment in your school. If you have less number of kids in your school, that number goes down. We pay that up front so that they have flow-through money and an operating cost to start the school year. If we get to the end of the year and we have not spent that there, then we get it back. We have not been refunded in previous, at least 3 years, for sure. But and you could go over and you would have additional expenses. But this is an agreement that has been beneficial for us, beneficial for our kids who need some additional support that we're not able to provide in the district.
How many kids do we typically anticipate or that we normally put into that program?
Yeah, tough to give a total number. I think last year we had 2 kids going full-time, but we also, like if a student gets suspended, for example, we don't send them home. We send them to,
For a period of time,
right.
So they're full-time.
So a number of different kids probably went there at times throughout the year, but we had about 2 full-time students there all year.
We're responsible for transportation every day?
We do. We provide transportation typically in a Suburban.
I know we've done this for the last few years.
Yep,
So.
yep. Last year, the upfront cost changed. It was not as high as $55,000. Not a huge impact to us because we were spending that amount anyway. So it's just they needed more upfront costs to operate on.
All right, any other questions or discussion?
Make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Andrea.
With one more question.
Yep, go ahead though. Open for discussion.
Is that a general fund expense or is that come out of a different fund?
No, the $5,000 PEPL or $5,000 rental is a PEPL expense. The $55,000 is a general fund expense.
All right, any further discussions or questions? Hearing none then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, now let's go into the Vista Software.
Yeah, still formerly called Grant Wood.
Didn't change.
It's our financial management software that we use in the district that we've used previously. The license fee, again, is a per pupil amount. The Vista Software renewal is for $15,848 for next year. So I do recommend the approval of the Vista Software agreement.
Do we have any questions, or do we have a motion? Something we, like you said, use and approved every year.
I make a motion to approve the Vista Software agreement.
Thanks, Andrew. Do we have a second? Thanks, Gloria. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Boardwork.
Vista Software also, I should mention that is a non-educational software, so that is a PEPL or
Or
SAVE
PEPL.
non-general fund expense.
Okay, Now we're at Boardwork Education.
Mrs. Eishen and I have met multiple times with a company called Boardworks over the last month. It's what Boardworks is. It's an educational suite that provides a wealth of innovative and inspiring ready-made resources. If I were to summarize it, you could go there. If I was teaching 8th grade social studies like I used to, I could go to 8th grade social studies and I could search by standard or I could search by topic, and they're going to have interactive resources right there for me that would work right with our interactive boards that we have in all the classrooms. It's not an all-encompassing curriculum, although I do think you could use it in that way, but it's intended to be an additional resource for your people. If we had a new teacher come to the district who was teaching 9th grade social studies, for example, like we did last year, this would give us something to provide them where we don't always have that curriculum resource right now, and in certain content areas and certain grade levels. So I think this is something that would be beneficial for our staff. It would provide exciting, engaging, interactive resources for them to use with our interactive boards. It does have an upfront cost, but then we have it. There isn't some ongoing technology cost, but $27,000 is our upfront cost, and from there our expenses are pretty minimal. So we're really excited. I use that 8th grade social studies example as a teacher. I could take this thing and I could teach tomorrow with it. I think it's really, really good. It's well done. I think the creators of Boardwork understand how our classrooms operate right now, how to engage and interact our kids, and the technology that allows them to do it. So I was really impressed. And I know it does carry an upfront cost, but it's something that we then have, and it's a tool for Mrs. Eishen and our instructional coaches to use with our teacher as an expanded resource from what we have, for sure.
The annual recurring is going to be around $3,000.
Yes, if you take those updates, which I think if we had large usage, you would want to, but if you didn't, you could just leave it where it is too.
You answered it, but that used the TLC and Mrs. Eishen then to get it out to the teachers?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
we
understand?
would, through our instructional people and curriculum led groups, it wouldn't be a whole rollout of here, this is new that you have to use. That's not how we'd utilize it. It would be with their work with teachers of, maybe this is something cool that we could use in our science class, or maybe this is something pretty neat that we could use to teach that math standard. It's just additional resources that are made for us. And our teachers, time is precious, and the creation of these types of things takes time. There's a lot of good work done by educational people here to do that for them.
It increases and helps with the educational buy-in and doing a better job of teaching. I think it's well worth the money.
Yep, I agree.
Any other discussion?
Just curious, you said it's interactive with the boards. Would it work with our VR that we had too?
Yeah, I don't know that. I doubt it has, as itself, no. Maybe it would link to some of those type of capabilities, but mostly what it is interactive is, I can go to the standard and click on it, and I know it has interactive maps that they showed us and so on, where they can touch and drag and move and make it their own. It's edible too, so pretty cool stuff.
But it works on their Chromebooks as well.
Right.
So it can be a whole class, but they can also do individual things
Okay.
at each day.
Got a lot of exciting curriculum stuff coming for us.
We do.
Just
We do.
continue to see some, so that's great. Okay, any further discussion? All right, we need a motion then for approval for the board works.
So moved.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
Thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to approve the authorized signers.
This authorization needs to be updated, and it will authorize Rodney, myself, and Lisa Chapman as authorized signers on all deposit accounts at Iowa State Bank, Farmers State Bank, and Northwest Bank. And you'll see in green there, that is the motion that would need to be made. So we're updating, what we're doing here is updating, adding Lisa as an authorized signer to our bank accounts.
Need then a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have a second?
Do we agree to that?
Yeah, can you do that?
Oh,
Approve, I make a motion to approve
sorry.
authorized signers on all deposit accounts of the Iowa State Bank, Farmers State Bank, and Northwest Bank.
yeah. Thank you, Andrew. We do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. School fees.
Put this up,
Line item.
yep, I'll put this up here, we can see that a little bit better. This is going through the years, from 15, 16 up to present. When they're shaded, that's when they change. So you'll see that in 22, 23, nothing's shaded. My recommendation is going to be to not increase any school fees for next year. We certainly think that we're able financially to not increase school fees. Our greatest concern comes in the nutrition fund, as that is an area that free lunch has been provided for all of our, breakfast and lunch has been provided for all of our students for 2 years, and it's no longer going to be. So making sure everyone is on top of that process will be new. But I think in this time of tremendous price increases, if there's something that we can do to help keep our costs for our families the same, I think this would be a good year to do that. So my recommendation is to not increase any fees from last school year to the 22-23 school year.
I have one question. 3-year preschool, that's $60 a month?
Yes.
That they pay for, okay.
Yep. And that's a program that has no state funding.
Yeah, okay, that's 3, okay. 4
Yeah.
years.
4-year-olds when we get into the statewide voluntary preschool program where we get a 0.5 per pupil funding per student.
That is a very good value.
Yeah.
For our
Yeah.
parents.
Yep.
Very beneficial. And I'd gladly trade all my meals for $3. Kids eat $3.
Yeah, all your meals at home?
Yes.
Definitely. All right, any further discussion or questions? Okay, we need a motion then for,
I do a motion to approve school fees for fiscal year '23.
thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Well, here's a tongue twister, the FCCLA position.
Can we go back
We sure
to
can. Maybe.
G?
G.
Yes, we need to authorize those bank signers and appoint Lisa Chapman as board secretary moving forward,
So can I
yes.
modify my motion?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to modify my motion and include appointing Lisa Chapman as our board secretary.
Okay, along with what we had stated before.
Yep. Thank you, Andrea.
What do you got, Mary Beth?
The book is over there.
Oh, yes, the book is over here once we do that, sorry.
Make it official.
And we got a second, who was our second on that?
Jay, I was.
You were.
Yes, I'll second what you
You
said.
go with the okay? Then, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can go to officially having Lisa. Sure.
Please.
First of all, come in front of the camera. People will see your face for the first time.
Yeah, just kidding.
There you go. Thank you. Lisa, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and will you faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Secretary in the Algona Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome, Lisa.
Welcome.
All right. now that we got through our little hiccup there.
Yeah, that was my fault.
We'll go back and we'll go down to 12 then, and the new, or it wouldn't be down that, it'd be I.
Aye, yep.
Yep.
Our FCCLA position, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, is a national career and technical student organization for students in family consumer science. There are nationally more than 155,000 members, over 4,000 chapters in 47 states. In the state of Iowa, we are now required to have club leadership organizations in place for students in family consumer science. So we would like to establish the FCCLA in our high school. We actually had it established last year, and what we would be doing is adding the leadership position, the sponsor position. Similar, I give the example of like the FFA contract, which is at 8% of our extra duty base. So I would make the recommendation to add the FCCLA position at the rate of 8% of the extra duty base for the 22-23 school year.
What does this position entail? Like, do they have club meetings?
Yep, that's exactly. Club meetings, fundraisers, activities, and really all that stuff was happening. We need to put the leadership position in place to guide that group, lead that group.
Do we know what kind of size student participation we have at this point?
I don't have the exact number, but I know that she probably sent that to me. It's significant.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were involved in some fundraisers out here in the winter, and had a lot of kids as part of it, and I think that will only grow.
Another way to get kids engaged and benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Provide
Yep.
opportunities.
Yep.
I think it's beneficial.
Yep.
So does that go under a contract, Joe?
It will. It'll be an extra duty contract once we add that, and then we'll send it out and advertise it, and next month hopefully have an approval for a person.
So the extra duty base pay would be like your sport
Yep.
pay?
Yep. It's the same amount that generates all of our extra contracts, coaching, for example, FFA, all of our extra duty contracts.
So the 0.8 is like, or 8%?
8% of 35,051, I think, is what it is. 35,051. 8% of that is 2,801. Which is how all those contracts are generated as a percent of the extra duty base. And we typically, at least the last 3 years, we, as part of negotiations, add money to that extra duty base, so those increments increase as well.
With that percentage like that?
Yep.
And I'm assuming that the slide scales, just the scale slides just depending about how many hours we would anticipate, whether it's sports or any sort
Right.
of extra.
Yep, and also experience. For this one, for example, it'll go 8% for years 1 and 2, and then it'll go up to 10% for years 3 and 4. And all of our extra contracts have that sliding with experience and the percent changes.
All right, I make a motion to approve the FCCLA position.
Thanks, Andrea. Do we have a second? Thanks, Tori. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And any abstaining?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Look forward to seeing you filling that position hopefully soon.
Yep.
All right, right now, resolution to transfer funds for the athletic equipment.
This is something we did last year as well. Iowa code allows us to transfer funds from the general fund to the student activity fund with board resolution. What we did last year, and I think it's a solid practice and other districts do, is we transferred the amount that was spent on protective and safety equipment, specifically batting helmets, catcher's gear, shoulder pads, and helmets. That amount that we spent on that protective gear in this last year is $14,297.93. So I would recommend the approval of a resolution transferring $14,297.93 from the general fund to the student activity fund.
Will, next year, we approved it a while back that admission prices are going to go up. Does that money go to athletic fund?
Absolutely.
So next year theoretically, we could maybe not transfer as much?
Yep. Yes, Todd, and that's a really good way to look at that. We do believe most of our official costs are going to go up 15% next year, with another probably 10% to follow. That's what started the conversation of our admission prices, is our official signers have come to us and said those are going to go up that amount. So yes, you are right. Maybe we would generate enough dollars, we would feel this is not needed. And I think if we ever got to a point where general fund just didn't allow it, that would be something to consider. This does not have to be done every year, but I do think if you're able to, it's a good use of money for things, protective equipment that's important, and does help to alleviate that activity account.
I've never been a big fan of this part of the process. I know what the code allows. But if approved, I would be in favor of approving it for the safety equipment only.
Yeah,
I've
right.
never been in favor of subsidizing other
Right.
purchases.
Right.
But I still believe the activity accounts should be self-sustaining if possible.
Yep.
And that should be the goal in the future.
Yep. Tom, I think you're right. And what Tom's alluding to here is we could transfer any amount. That amount, and I give it very specifically because it's for very specific items. It's for protective equipment only. Because I agree with Tom. I think just a general transfer with a flat amount or some amount, I'm not sure that's appropriate either, because we do want our student activity accounts to be self-sufficient. The cost of some of those protective equipment, which we have to have, are really rising and rising quickly, and that's where that number comes from.
I hope we can solve it in the future. Based on this, I will make the recommendation to approve.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorizing the year-end payments.
As we usually do at the June board meeting, we need to authorize Lisa Chapman to pay the June bills as they are due to help with the year-end process. It's like I mentioned, a typical June end of the school fiscal year. Mary Beth is still with us till June 30th, but there will be some time when she still needs to. So that's why we need to do this at this meeting.
Can we go back first?
Yep.
Do we need to have the resolution read as written for the athletic equipment?
I don't know.
That's the resolution of the whole thing?
Do we need that read, Mary Beth, do you think? Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll return back to the resolution and ask Tom to read it.
Whereas Iowa Code
Yeah.
provides school districts greater flexibility to transfer excess funds to other specified purposes. Whereas the board, in consultation with this community, has determined that the funds of
Yeah. Here, yep.
the same amount,
It's 14.
$14,297.93 in the general fund shall be transferred to the student activity fund to purchase protective and safety equipment required for any extracurricular interscholastic athletic contest or competition that is sponsored or administered by an organization as currently defined by Iowa Code.
Very good.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Tom was a motion, Jay was second.
Second.
You still second, thank you. Again, any further discussion after the resolution was read? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. And we'll just go back, we were to the year-end authorization. We're about done there.
Yep. We need to approve authorizing Lisa Chapman to pay the June bills as they're due to help with our year-end process. Again, a
Pretty standard.
typical authorization
Yep.
to end our fiscal year.
Yep.
I motion to approve Lisa Chapman to be able to process the year-end payment.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Thanks, Andrea. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Open enrollment.
We have 3 open enrollment outs. These are students open enrolling from Algona to the Forest City Community School District. I do recommend these approvals as they all are open enrollments that have met the deadlines or state requirements, which now there are no deadlines. So
Which now, and these by the names, all kind of the Tyke area, which kind of makes sense.
they are, and I think they're all families that have moved in for employment,
No, they're just more
transitional employment.
So Joe, if I understand it correctly, what was it March?
March 15th used to be the deadline.
Used to be the deadline.
Yep, there is no more deadlines.
But there were the newer things in place, right, for the basically we had to approve when kids were relocated but
Yeah.
wanted to stay with the district that they were in. So there were some things like that.
Right.
I mean, we approved, but
Yeah.
in this case,
There is no deadline,
There
so
is no
everything,
deadline, so-
everything is an approval. There are some exceptions. In the new law, a child who has been suspended or expelled previously, we would not have to accept. That's really where most of the exceptions lie. Now,
say that again.
suspension or expulsion.
Okay, so let's walk through an example there. So let's say we suspend a child and they want to go to a different district then because of that.
Right, so then the receiving district would have to approve it.
They have to.
No, they would have to vote too.
They would have to vote. Okay, so we still at least have,
Right.
in terms of kids moving in and out.
Yeah.
of-
So I think a scenario that
at any point in time.
could come to you guys is a child suspended from a neighboring school district and then applies for open enrollment to our district. That would come to you guys for a vote. And that, I anticipate that happening. Something else that you guys will have a factor in is a child from any school district can apply for open enrollment here. That does not gain them eligibility, but you could approve their eligibility in activities, for example. You don't have to, but you could. So those are things where you will still have to make decisions as a board. But general open enrollment from one district to another, there are no deadlines, and the exceptions are few.
Have you spoken with any superintendents in the surrounding area, adjoining school districts around their thoughts? I mean, what this is gonna look like
Yeah.
and what we need to be considering?
Yeah, there's 2 things that I've talked to some others about. One is we need to be very, very open and willing and able to communicate with other districts with a child who maybe has run into some trouble, has been suspended, has been expelled. So the district knows the situation. I think that's an obligation that we have. The other would be involving that athletic eligibility. Is that something the board wants to set a precedent on of just approving a child? Their open enrollment will have to be approved. But will you just simply approve them to be eligible to compete right away in activities or not? And I think as superintendents, we've talked about working with our boards to be consistent in that process and to think about that now, so when it happens, we have a plan in place. Some districts have already started to create board policy based upon when their class sizes, sections, and total grade get to a certain number, they don't accept anymore. I don't anticipate us having that kind of impact where we would get large numbers from one grade all of a sudden. Ours would be more spread out, sporadic, like we see them monthly currently.
It'd be nice to be consistent amongst, kind of surrounding schools.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I asked the question, so we can kind of start the kind of conversation now.
I see this being a real issue in Metro areas.
Huge issue. A lot of
Kids
the,
jumping and moving for whatever reason.
many of those schools are the ones who are putting policy in place capping. So if they don't feel comfortable accepting because of class size or total enrollment in high school and stuff like that, then they have that in policy that they won't accept. You know, that's a very different situation than what rural Iowa's in.
The eligibility thing could be
Big deal.
a big issue with many school districts. And whatever we do, when it's our time to act, we'll set a precedent
Yep.
for the future. And once you set the precedent, that's where the direction you go. So.
And I think
we'll have hard
that's-
discussions on it.
That's where you're going to get a communication from our community on, you know, someone coming in, athletic eligibility. That's where the pressures will come from on whether the board wants to set the precedent to grant that or not.
And what is it, still 90 days?
90 days.
If it's not-
Yeah.
Oh, I don't mean to sidetrack this, but I know that was something
Yeah.
kind of recent that came about.
And like I put in the memo to you guys, I do think this will cause some disturbance in normal school business, but we'll have to see on how large. You know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it won't impact us much, but it'll be interesting to see.
I make a motion to approve all the,
Thanks, Andrea. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looking at new contracts.
We have 3 new contracts. We have Cameron Shada, high school Spanish. Cameron is a recent University of Iowa graduate, originally from Spirit Lake, who is fresh out of college and ready to move into our Spanish position. We're really excited about Cameron, as we are our other new contracts, both in transportation, Brian Bartelt and Don Walker. So a couple of those openings that we've had throughout this year, we're filling those with some good people.
And do both those have their air brake and student endorsement, passion endorsement, all that stuff? Or they- or is
I
that-
think these 2 are ready to go. We're working on some others to get that stuff before we get to this point.
Isn't that, isn't there a long wait?
It is, to get to the S endorsement, which is the school part. Going and getting your CDL with the air brakes, you know, you can go and get that done. It's getting that, the class time for the S endorsement, that there's a waiting to get into the class.
All right, we need a motion then to approve the new contracts.
I'll move to approve the 3 contracts listed.
Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Jay. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Going to resignations now.
We have 4 resignations. Heather Chodoff as the Lucia Wallace Secretary, Christy Riggert, Cheer Coach, Kelly Stuke, Lucia Wallace, Teacher Associate, and Bonnie Holcomb, Cook.
I will make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Andrea. We have a motion and a second. Approve the resignations. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're now going to, as part of the agenda, go into closed session to do our annual superintendent evaluation. And to do that, we need a motion, a second, and we'll do a roll call.
I'll make the motion to go to closed session for evaluation.
Okay?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. And Mary Beth, can you do a roll call?
Bartelt?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Limba?
Yes.
Luwaji?
Yes.
Nugent?
Yes.
Hennessy?
Yes.
Yes. All right, we're going to move to closed session. We'll take time for anyone else to leave, and then we'll go into our closed session. Thank you for, just please turn it off. Maybe leave it, so we have to pop it on at the end.